Now let's put this all together. We've looked at the social drives, the persuasion techniques. Now it's about actually how do we negotiate a discounted deal. Okay, so the process is very, very simple. Step one, determine the person's social style. Whether you're working with an estate agent or a seller or an investor or anyone, even if you're wanting to negotiate with your wife or with your husband or with your kids, first thing is you need to determine their social style. Step number two, apply the persuasion technique that works on that social style. Number three, create a follow-up system. Okay, create a follow-up system. So step one, social style. Very simple. Are they extroverted or introverted? Are they task-orientated, people-orientated? And very quickly, you can start to see who's who. Now, what I thought would be helpful is to take you through a practical example of one of the negotiations that I'm actually having at the moment. So I'm currently working with 2 estate agents looking at 2 different deals. One is a buy-to-let opportunity in Berea. Another one is a block of flats in Kenilworth, Joburg South. Okay, so I'm going to show you how we can use these different communication mediums to read, listen, understand, and then apply the techniques. Okay, so the first agent, his name is Obi. Okay. Now this was the first communication that I sent him. As you can see there, on Monday the 6th of July at 5 to 11, through Property 24, I sent an email directly to Obi stating that I'm interested in this property, I'm a cash buyer, and please can you answer these few questions. So you can see there that I've put, it's about 4 different questions. Those are the same questions I sent to all of my estate agents when looking at a deal. Now Obi replied, as you can see there, on Monday, the 6th of July at 4:30 p.m. So that's just, 5 hours later. Now, I'm not sure how many of you on the call have actually, approached an estate agent, but usually you send 30 emails and you get maybe 1 reply. That's kind of the numbers. So for an estate agent to have replied within 5 hours, he's telling me a lot about him, right? What kind of personality do you think he is? Is he extroverted? Is he introverted? Is he task-orientated? Is he people-orientated? Okay. And now in his email, he answered all of my questions. He answered, what the rent is. He answered the expenses. Are they negotiable? What's the owner's reason for selling? So he answered all of my questions, and he got back to me really, really quickly. Those 2 indicators are telling me that he's task-orientated. Right? He's decisive, efficient, intense, results, systematic, logical. You can see he's following a process, right? So he's definitely on this side of the spectrum. I don't know yet if he's extroverted or introverted because I haven't necessarily had enough interaction with him, but I can quite confidently say that he's on the task orientation side of the social drive. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Okay. The second example is estate agent Carlos. Okay, so I'm quite close with Carlos. I've been working with him for a couple of years, and that's why we actually chat on WhatsApp as opposed to Property 24. And here I'm looking at a block of flats, and you can see there I'm asking if he's got the rent rolls. Unfortunately, I only have access to 2.5 million. There I'm using a little bit of scarcity, by the way. So would they likely accept my offer, or would the owner consider? Now here, what Carlos's reply tells us who he is, okay? I can find out, but I highly doubt it. I know the seller quite well. We'll call him to discuss. Now, when you're thinking about, okay, he knows someone quite well, is he more task-orientated or is he more people-orientated? Right? He's more people-orientated. Then I asked him another question because there were a lot of outstandings on his COJ bill. And he said, not really, Lawrence. He lives in Cape Town. He's not really bothered, to be honest. He has huge money. We were just asked to get a price which is reasonable for what the condition they're in. Now, he seems to know quite a lot about this person, right? He lives in Cape Town. He knows that he's got a lot of money. He was just looking to get a fair deal for his seller. Can you see the difference is very clear? He's not task-orientated. He's people-orientated. So now the question is he an influencer or is he steady? Okay. Now, here's another text that I got from him, and this text made me realize exactly what his social style or social drive was. Hey, Lawrence, I spoke to the seller. Best we can do here is 2.75. When listed, we listed it at 2.9, and he said he wasn't very negotiable. He spent 350 on the building a year ago. This building is definitely worth a look if you guys are able to come up to the 2.75 price. Top building in the area, 3 units on each floor, so the units are impressive. Okay, so let's look at our model. One thing that's coming through for me is he's very persuasive, right? It's a top building in the area, it's inquisitive, you can see he's a salesperson, right? You can definitely tell that. He's also optimistic. He's looking at all the pros and all the positive sides of this deal. Another thing is I think he's quite thorough. He's answered several different questions and he's been, quite pragmatic in his approach. So what you can see here is that 2 of the points from the influencer have come on, and steady has also come on. So I'm still not 100% sure where he fits until I see the difference between his orientation. He's more worried about the relationship with his owner than he is supportive. Can you see that? So based on that sort of high-level analysis, I can confidently say, Carlos, he's most likely an influencer. I hope that helps you see through the different communication mediums, such as writing, how you can start to pick up on subtle cues. Is this person a dominant driver, an influencer, conscientious, steady? What are they looking for? What excites them? Okay, so that's step number 1. What's the person's social style? Once you understand their social style, you go to step number 2, the persuasion technique. Now what I've done here is I've kind of mapped the social style with the persuasion technique. So on the left-hand side, scarcity, consistency, and authority work really well with task-orientated people. Okay? Social proof, liking, reciprocity work really well with people-orientated people. So you can start to see which ones we're going to use. So let's go back to our example of Obi. Now, if you remember, Obi sent the email about 5 hours later, so it was very much, on the left-hand side, very much task-orientated. So we're going to try a scarcity approach, a consistency approach, or an authority approach. Okay, so let's try it. This is the email that he sent us. Let's assume that we're trying to get an offer price of 200,000 Rand across the line, bearing in mind that this property is worth, I think it's about 320 or 350 is what it's on the market for. So I'm asking for a huge discount. Okay, so the scarcity approach would be something like this. Hi Obi, I'm reviewing multiple good deals. I only have 200,000 available to spend, therefore that's my offer. Please get back to me ASAP, otherwise you might lose my business. Okay? Pretty simple. I've only got 200,000. I'm making a decision now. You're either going to get on board or I'm going to take my business elsewhere. I'm tapping into that scarcity element, right? Consistency. Remember, people want consistent business from you. So, hi Obi, I'm an established investor. I'm proving my credibility there in the area with access to a lot of finance. If you can help me secure a 200,000 Rand offer, I'll bring more business to you. More consistency that starts to speak to Obi's his desire to have a good working relationship. Finally, authority. Hi Obi, the deal seems okay. What I'm trying to do there is I'm trying to undermine the deal because of my authority, because I've seen so many great deals. This is just another average deal for me. In my Berea property portfolio, to be fair, I probably only own like 2 or 3 units in Berea, but he doesn't know that, right? What I'm trying to convey here is that I'm a huge investor and you need to listen to me. Does that make sense, right? So in my Berea property portfolio, I earn a minimum of 15% ROI, return on investment. 10 years of experience has told me that 200,000 is a reasonable offer. Okay. Now, each one of these 3 could probably work. Based on what I know about Obi, which is very little, I'd probably go down the authority route. I think that one probably, it's quite a stern message, right? It's quite a hectic message, but also I feel that it brings across the message in the right way. Now let's look at Carlos. Okay, Carlos is on the right-hand side. He's a people-orientated person. So he's going to respond to our persuasion techniques of social proof, liking, and reciprocity. Okay, so here is his message. Hi Lawrence, I spoke to the seller, blah, 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 blah. Let's imagine that we are trying to get an offer price of 2.4 million across the line. Now they're at 2.75. That's their minimum that they're accepting. So I'm asking them to go an extra 350,000 Rand discount, which is going to be tricky. Let's see what options we have. So first of all, social proof. Hi Lawrence. Sorry. Hi Carlos. I've currently got an accepted offer to purchase for 2.4 million in a similar area. I prefer this deal, but my max is 2.4. I'm sure you understand the discount, especially with COVID. So what I've done there is I've said, actually Carlos, I've already got another deal. Accepted at 2.4 in a similar area. It's a very similar deal. I'm showing him that I've got proof of already getting experience in this area. So I'm saying to him, you know what, I can do this deal, but I've currently already got a great deal lined up, even if I don't. Guys, remember, persuasion is, you're just trying to get somebody onto your way of thinking. So sometimes you'll need to say things that get them to agree with your perspective. So although I don't have another deal, I can say it to him and say, look, there's other great deals for 2.4 million. This one, I'll consider this one, but my max is 2.4. So that's a way in which you can bring a bit of social proof in. Liking. So here you just want to try and be nice and be friends. Hi Carlos, thanks for getting back to me. It's nice to work with a professional like yourself, hoping we can do business. With this deal, the best I can do is 2.4 million. I completely understand if this offer is too low, with a little smiley face. So you're just trying to be nice, you're just trying to build a relationship, see where it goes. And then finally, reciprocity. So this is when you give, first you're likely to receive. Hi Carlos, if you can help me secure this deal at 2.4 million, I will commit another 3 property purchases with you. Help me win and I'll help you win. Now I luckily know Carlos very well, so I'd probably go with the reciprocity approach, and I would go, because I've already done a couple of deals with him, I'm sure he's thinking that I will do the other 3 purchases. So I know this is very high level, and it's not as practical as maybe that you would want, but I'm hoping that as you start to go through the journey of analyzing deals and putting offers forward and getting to this part where you actually need to start negotiating and finding a middle ground on price, that some of these techniques maybe could be of use. Okay, so we've done step number 1, determine their social style. Right? Look for cues. Are they task-oriented, people-oriented? Are they extroverted or introverted? Okay. Number 2, apply the persuasion technique that works on whatever group you're looking at. So if they're task-oriented, look at the scarcity authority approach. If they are people-oriented, look at the social proof, the liking, and the reciprocity. Step number 3, and the most important step. Guys, if you don't learn anything from tonight's webinar other than this, then this has been a well worth it webinar. The key to getting a discounted deal is to follow up. Okay, now here are some stats. Okay, 48% of salespeople never follow up with a prospect. Okay, 25% make a second contact, and then only 10% of salespeople make more than 3 contacts. Okay, so what that is saying is that very few people actually follow up, right? Let's say that first one, right? Somebody phones and they say, hi, I'd like to put an offer forward, and the estate agent doesn't answer, and they never phone back. I can't tell you how many of my students who have sent one email to an estate agent requesting information, and they'll come to me in a coaching session and they'll say, Lawrence, I didn't hear back from them. And that was like 2 months ago, so I assume the deal's gone. And I'm thinking to myself, why don't you follow up? Why don't you phone them? The winning is in the following up, because look here at the results. Okay? Those are the 2 points you need to focus on. Only 10% of salespeople make more than 3 contacts, and 80% of sales are made when people make 5 to 12 contact attempts. So Carlos, who's sold me probably 3 or 4 buildings, I actually had to phone him about 7 times before we actually got to a viewing. Right, guys, that's part of this game. You're going to have to go onto Property 24, analyze 10, 15 deals, put 15 requests out there for more information, or sign 5 offer to purchases. You're going to have to constantly follow up and follow up and follow up. Here's some statistics from my year. Now you can see here in the background, this is a quick dashboard of some of the deals that I've analyzed this year. Okay, so to put into perspective of how much work and follow-up I had to go through to get a deal across the line. Look at this. Number 1, to get one deal, I analyzed 60 deals, and I made verbal offers on those 60 deals. So I probably analyzed about about, I don't know, 300 deals. And I was constantly sending messages to estate agents and saying, are they interested? Will they negotiate? Will they sell? Blah, 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 blah. Following up, following up, following up. Eventually I made 60 verbal offers, okay? Of the 60 verbal offers, only 20 resulted in a viewing. Okay, the other 40 estate agents never got back to me. And yes, I followed up, but also at some point you have to give up. So 20 viewings. The 20 viewings led to 5 signed offer to purchases, and only 1 was a successful deal. So what is this telling you? Well, number one, it's a numbers game. I mean, people constantly ask me, Lawrence, how do you get a discounted deal? It's the same as how do you get a girlfriend or a boyfriend? You go and ask a bunch of people until they say yes. I mean, that's how I got my girlfriend, right? I went onto Tinder and I got a whole lot of rejections, but I kept pursuing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, and eventually somebody gave in and started dating me. So that's the same thing with property. Number one, you have to constantly pursue. It's a numbers game. Number two, you have to follow up, because 80% of sales, 80% of all the sales that are made are in the 5th or more follow-up. Right, I hope that makes sense, because that really, ladies and gentlemen, is going to change it for you. Here's just a quick snapshot of what my weekly schedule looks like. And I'd recommend, especially if you've got a full-time job, that you look at something similar to this. Okay. So Monday morning from 6 a.m. until 9 a.m., I like to batch my work. I like to do a whole bunch of similar tasks in one round of time. So my Monday mornings from 6 until 9 a.m., I'm focused on analyzing deals. Okay, so I go onto Property 24, I look at maybe 10, 15, 20 deals, I find the top 5 that I like, I send an email to that estate agent and I say, please can you give me this information, blah, 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 blah. And then I put a little note a week later to follow up with that estate agent. I put their number there in the note, and a week later I'll phone them to say, hey, did you see my email? Okay. On Tuesdays between 12 and 2 p.m., I focus on management. So this is where I'm phoning my current builders or attorneys or letting agents to find out what's happening with my current projects, right? Because you obviously have new business and then you have business that you're maintaining. Thursday from 4 until 5, I focus on phoning estate agents. So just for an hour, I've probably got a deal database of about 20 deals that I'm currently looking at. Every single week I phone the estate agent, even if I irritate them. It's their job to deal with people like me. Does that make sense? I don't care if I have to phone you 30 times for you to listen to what my offer is or for you to get me my business. Also remember, guys, you're the client. You are the client. You hold all the power. You are the person who's going to buy the property. So if the estate agent doesn't work to your needs, move on, because you're the client. You're supposed to get some client services from them. Okay? And don't feel bad to follow up. I mean, yes, I sometimes have estate agents that they don't even answer my calls anymore because I harass them. But, I also understand the game, and I want to win this game. And if I have to irritate a few people along the way, then so be it. And then Saturdays is mostly for viewing. Now, I'm not saying that this is the perfect weekly schedule. You've got to find your own schedule, but make it a routine. Have a time in the week where you're just focusing on analyzing deals and putting verbal offers forward. Have some time in the week for follow-ups. Please, please, please. You need an hour or 2 per week where you're just phoning estate agents or sellers or investors and you're following up and you're saying, hey, we spoke last week. We had this agreement. What's happening? Are we still on? Can we make a deal happen? Okay. And essentially, this business, my property side hustle, if you want to call it that, costs me 10 hours per week. So with just 10 hours per week, you can run a completely side passive business. You can still be full-time employed. I'm in the lucky situation where I have a couple of different businesses. So 10 hours goes to property. I put about 10 to 15 on online business. I do a lot of writing. I do these webinars and speaking. And that's something that I'm always talking about, is multiple streams of income. So hopefully, this has made a lot of sense. So the process, step 1, what kind of person are you speaking to? Step number 2, what persuasion technique works with that kind of person? Step 3, follow up until they say yes.
Thank you for watching another video on your step to financial freedom. Now, if you enjoyed this content and you're looking at what your next steps would be, well, firstly, go and look at my property investment coaching package. You can find that on lawrencebull.com/coaching. I've put the URL there. It'll explain what the coaching package entails. Alternatively, please go and get a copy of my book. You can get it at any exclusive books, or you can follow that incredibly long link, which is lawrencebull.com/product/financial-freedom-through-property. Finally, go get yourself registered with mypropertyapp.online, which is the app that I use every day to analyze deals. It basically is a set of inputs that you put in, and then it'll calculate your return on investment, your exit strategy, your 20-year cash flow projections, your return on equity, everything that you need to know. Until next time, happy investing.